later. I want to particularly thank Software Guru for the technical support in this today for this webinar, and the Consulado General de Mexico in Austin, because they have given us a lot of support, and they have helped us spread the word out about this webinar series. Very briefly, I'll tell you my connection to Mexico is I was born and raised in Mexico City. I attended UNAM, the National University there, for my physics degree. And then I came to Austin to get my graduate degree. And I went around the world a little bit afterwards, but I've been back in Austin for a few years now, working in the McDonald Observatory as part of the University of Texas at Austin. So I will be your moderator today, and I will now introduce our speakers, which I want them to say their name, their current title, and a little bit of their history with the emphasis in Mexico. So let's get started, please, with Liliana Millán. Please introduce yourself, Liliana.
Thank you, Eva. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Liliana Millán. I'm a data scientist. I'm the director of the Data Science Center at the university in Mexico City that is called ITAM, a private university. In there, what we're trying to do or achieve, our goals is to try to help organizations, companies, and governments also to try to develop and deploy correctly data science projects, which is very difficult, but we are trying to do that. In particular, we are trying to do it in the correct way, because there could be a lot of things in there that could be very difficult when you are actually deploying a data product. So we're trying to do that. I'm a software engineer. I started as a software engineer. Then I changed somehow into something, and a specialty that is in artificial intelligence in finance. And I really enjoyed that part. So then I studied another master's degree in data science, and I really, really love that. So I've been like 10 years doing projects in data science, and I really love doing that, helping people and see what's the outcome of the things that you're trying to model in helping someone else. So that's what I do.
Thank you, Liliana. Now we have Maria del Pilar Ángeles. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, hello, I'm Maria del Pilar Ángeles, the coordinator of the bachelor's degree of the data science at the Institute for Research in Applied Mathematics and Systems at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. I'm initially a computer engineer, then I did my master's degree on software engineering at UNAM, and finally I did my PhD in Scotland regarding data quality in heterogeneous systems. So my main work has been, I worked for 19 years on several companies for data management. And then I went to the academic area where I'm still doing research on data management, data quality, data preprocessing, data mining, etc. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Arturo Artigas, please introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Arturo Artigas, and I was born and raised in Mexico City, particularly. My journey through the data area, I started working on several companies in Mexico, like Nissan, Mexican Stock Exchange, Bolsa Mexicana de Valores, and as a consultant, as a software AG. And later, I moved to the United States. I started working as a consultant for Morgan Stanley, and then continuing working as between being a software engineer, database engineer for International Paper, and ultimately what I'm doing, I'm currently working on is for Expedia. Vrbo is, as you know, it's a travel company. And what we do is we developed tools that facilitate the transfer of data between their sources into the final repositories where data scientists make use and make sense of the data. And I think my passion is definitely about the data, but also I love so much being into the software engineering as well. So I play around those two fields myself. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I last but not least, we have Ricardo Arriaga. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So same as Arturo, and I think the rest, I am 100% Mexican, born and raised Mexico City. I am an electronic engineer by trade. I studied in Monterrey Tech in Estado de Mexico. And then when I finished college in the year 2000, I was hired by a business intelligence company to come to the US. And I have been in data science way even before this was called data science, right? So back in the day, this was called Decision Support Systems, DSS, and we were doing reports with web interfaces and whatnot. So my role today, I am the head of channel and alliances for a German database company called Exasol. And we pride ourselves for being the fastest database in the world for analytics. So more than happy to tell you more about that. And yeah, excited to be here and talk about the art of data science. I'm a data geek. I love doing data. In my career, I worked 14 years for MicroStrategy in multiple areas, from data support, engineering, and then going into sales. And then I moved to Tableau Software, where I've been working in the front end and data visualization area very intensively, working with large organizations like Deloitte and Accenture and all the global SIs that are implementing projects globally. So very, very interesting. I've had the pleasure to work with many enterprise companies here in the US, deploying data science projects and making data decisions, right? Taking the gut feeling out of decision making and making real decisions based on information. So thank you, Eva.
Thank you all of you for participating. As you can see, we have this wonderfully diverse group of people, some in the academia, some in the industry, all of them with a lot of experience. So I hope we will be able to tell you very interesting things today. I'm gonna get moving with the questions. So we're gonna start with Maria del Pilar, please. I want to ask you, the general question is, what exactly is data science? And I guess the nuanced way to ask it is, how is it different from the familiar data analytics and statistic fields that we have known for a long time? It seems like the name is new. As Ricardo said, some of the tools are older, but what is new and why is there such a buzz about it nowadays?
Yes, well, the challenge of analyzing data to make decisions has been carried out from different disciplines independently of each other, such as data analytics and statistics, for example. Data science is a product of this evolution of disciplines such as data analytics, business intelligence, data warehousing, that use mathematics, statistics, and machine learning. However, the evolution has been marked by the type of analysis, which can be predictive, descriptive, and prescriptive. The type of data, structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. And the processing and analysis time of data, hours, seconds, or real time. This is why there are several terms that contribute to data science that are wrongly used indiscriminately. Well, data science is the application of various disciplines such as mathematics, data management, and artificial intelligence, which allow to extract knowledge from large amounts of data and understand and predict real phenomena.
Liliana, just super quick, Maria del Pilar, I'm sorry, super quickly, can you hold your headphone a little, the microphone a little closer? It comes and goes.
All right, yes. Can you hear me?
Is the other one.
Oh,
that's
all right. All right. Okay. So in the case of statistics, it's more focused on significance, testing, experimental design, normality distribution, and diagnostic projects, for example. In the case of data science, it's more software engineering, like coding and computation of machine learning models. However, nowadays, the job descriptions of these roles overlap. That's the confusion. But there are different terms, and all there have a meaning, very different meaning.
Thank you so much for that explanation. So let's move a little bit to the effects that this has on everyday life. And I'm gonna ask Ricardo about that. how does data science affect everyday activities? In particular, I guess something very familiar for people is social networks or online shopping, but feel free to use whatever example to answer that question.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think data science is very much everywhere in everything we do these days, right? We have been capturing so much data in the last 20, 30 years, but it has been growing exponentially, right? With the growth of these technologies like Hadoop and non-SQL databases. And then we have trends like Internet of Things that basically everything we do is captured and analyzed. And this is where the art of data science comes in place. And in the two examples that you mentioned, I think if you have a time, please check a documentary called, it's in Netflix, it's called, of course, this happens to me all the time. I'm gonna say the name and then I forget the name.
I saw it and I also forgot the name. I'm so
It's
sorry.
the name of the, it talks about how data science is used, right, in social media or social media spaces like Instagram or
Is
Facebook.
it the social
Basically,
dilemma? Is it?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
the social, exactly. So basically, we are analyzing everything that we do, right, in order to make things more palatable to our interests, right? And so machine learning is everywhere. Basically, we look at your preferences and your selections, but we also will put you in a psychological frame, and we will know what type of person you are, and then we will make suggestions and recommendations on the type of things that you want to purchase. And trust me, for 20 years doing business intelligence, companies have been analyzing our data for all this time. Like when you have credit card companies like Visa analyzing your type of purchases, and it goes even further to looking at the type of foods that you have, and they know exactly how much salt you consume and the propensity for you to get sick. I mean, honestly, it impacts very much everything that we do in our lives, in our decision making, in the likes, in the things that we do that we don't do. I mean, Netflix is another example where the movies that you're being presented, right, that you may like, are basically machine learning algorithms that have looked at your past selections and they're making recommendations based on that. Arturo is probably working on that in Airbnb, where the type of places that I'm hiring, right, or that I want to rent are based on my preferences. So basically, it's the evolution of looking at your information and making it smart and helping us in some good ways to make our lives easier, and some in other ways, well, they are taking advantage and making suggestions and recommendations on behalf of the business. I mean, it's not a bad thing, right? Market basket analysis, A/B testing, like there's a lot of examples where we're helping organizations make better decisions. And even it can go to pharma. How can we put together a vaccine faster? I mean, it basically is there in every single example that you think today. Yeah.
So thinking a little bit of, for example, we think of evil social networks that want to control our minds versus, say, wonderful medical research that will predict when we are likely to have a heart attack and make us go to the doctor early enough that we can catch it. So it can have two sides of this, of course. Would you say that a big difference between nowadays compared to the past is something like real-time predictions? Like that's something that wasn't really happening a few years ago, and now the predictions are done practically in situ and in real time.
Yeah, I mean, I would go back to the definition of Maria del Pilar, like what is data science, right? And the way that I interpret data science is it goes from the collection of data to the movement of data to the cleanup to the aggregation, exploration, and optimization, right? So in that full spectrum of what data science encompasses, yeah, you could argue that we have been exploiting a lot more the decisions that we're making at that particular instance and how they're being affected. So I think, and that's been powered by capturing data and having faster systems that allow us to tap into vast amounts of information very quickly. Recent, the company that I work for, right? We are able to process 500 terabytes of data in 1 second response time. I mean, that's that's just incredible, right? And you don't have that type of capacity. We didn't have that type of capacity 10 years ago.
Okay, so this helps us very, very well segue into the next question, which is for Liliana. What are the main tools used in data science? And by this, I mean, like, we can segue into what are the different ways that people can come into data science. Even just the four of you, and even me included, have very different backgrounds in the way you got into data science. And I think that's changing also, because before it was the movement of the field is what took us to where we are, but nowadays there are specific programs and things, much more established ways to become a data scientist. So what are the tools and how do these essentially shape the way people are becoming data scientists?
Yeah, that's true, Eva. In the way that Ricardo was putting in and the way that that Maria Pilar defines data science, so I'd like to answer this question more in like the different stages in which a data science project have. So yeah, we have this part of acquisition and ingest of a lot of data. For that part, we actually could have a lot of tools, a lot of frameworks, but for a data scientist to actually use those, you will have to require a lot of bash components, of command line, of things that are for a long, long time ago, but they're really, really useful, like grep or AWK or Ceph, stuff like that is like very common to use for that part of ingestion. Also SQL and those. For the exploring part and the cleaning part, also bash and stuff like that. But for the exploration, it's more about how do you feel comfortable with. So you can use R or Python. They are not competing with each other. It depends on what you're trying to do. You can use both. Also, for the next part, which will be the feature engineering, for example, depending on the amount of data that you have, you could use different tools and frameworks, but most of the time we are using Python and different packages on Python for that part. For example, Pandas or PySpark, if you have a lot of data in there, or Spark, like per se. Yeah, we have a lot of things in there also. And for a part of the modeling, which will be very important, it is most of the people think that of data science as if you just need to understand machine learning, and that's not true. You actually require to understand a little bit more of all the things that are happening in there. So for the modeling, you can use also a lot of stuff in there. You can use R for some specific libraries. You can use Python, again, scikit-learn or Spark or H2O. There are a lot of frameworks in there. It really depends on what you're trying to do and the amount of data that you have to do that. For the later parts of a data science project, for example, how to expose a model so that you can use it in a production environment. You can use an API that will be much easier to use. So you can use Flask, or there are a lot of stuff in there to actually use an API or expose an API. And if you would like to monitor a model now that it's up there deployed, maybe you could have some dashboard in there, so you can have Django or Dash or a lot of things also in there. But most of them are more about frameworks and computational tools that allows you to do different things. So you will have to learn a lot of things. But I think that most of them is more about just trying to understand what they do, how they do it, and if they are the correct solution for the problem that you're trying to solve. So not all the time you will use a Spark, not all the time you will use a cluster, not all the time you will use a relational database. So it will depend on the problem, but it will be very, very a broad of things that you could use for tools in there.
I'll make a super quick follow-up to the question. I'm sure you can tell us a fair amount. Many of the tools that you mentioned actually deal with clouds or are represented in clouds and repositories that are not where you are. So can you just give us an extra 30 seconds on the fact, because a lot of people who are not working on the field, they don't translate this notion that some of these tools are actually used in a very different way than we used to do it until recently.
Yeah, that's a very important point. So most of these tools are often in the cloud. you can use it locally in your machine for some of them, but most of the time you will be using a cloud server provider. And for those, you will be using, most of the time for me, for example, I'll use AWS, which is the Amazon solution for that, but there's also a solution for Google, a solution for IBM, a solution for Microsoft. All of them are, yeah, they have a lot of solutions in there. I still think that Amazon is the one that has a lot of things in there. But yeah, I think that that's the most common cloud provider. And it has relational databases, non-relational databases, ways to put and store a lot of information in there, how to make the complete pipeline, to expose the API, everything is in there. So yeah, there are a lot of things in there too.
Thank you. Next, I'm gonna go with Arturo. Could you tell us a little bit, as far as you know, in your experience, how are all of these tools used differently between academia and industry? And maybe something that is more specific to what you do is tell us a little bit, how does the data move from its original sources, wherever it got generated, to the hands of the data scientist dealing with it?
Okay. First, I need to clarify that I work for Expedia, not for Airbnb, but they are competitors, but it's fine.
I'm sorry, Arturo. Apologies.
It's
Thanks
okay.
for that clarification.
Yeah, but just to also get more deep into the situation that, for instance, on BRB, all we care about is the user experience. So the way that we get data science involved is that we try to create those models and interact with whatever user is seeing and whatever the preferences are for each and every one of them. But back to the question, so how do we capture the data? So every single event that happens during the booking or during the searching of the properties, etc., we capture all those particular events, and those events are being sent either via pipeline using Kafka, APIs, etc., and those ultimately are being sent to either databases, data warehouses, or data lakes. And that's where the data scientists pretty much take everything that they need to run their models. I mean, as Pilar mentioned and Liliana mentioned as well, they can use either structured data like in a common database or data warehouse, or they can use unstructured data like in a data lake situation. Particularly like in instance for AWS, we have S3 buckets. We also use Spark to make sense of that. And all those tools are pretty much the data scientists use to make sense of the data and work on those projects. As far as what is the other question?
Well, it was, what are the differences in usage of data science really between academic?
Yeah, I would say, as I mentioned, the main use of data science on the industry is pretty much marketing, create a better user experience. And the academia basically is to work on research projects. But I'm pretty sure that sometimes the private sector approaches the academia to help them out to find out solutions to certain topics all the time. But it is not, academia is not really concentrated on the research side. And I don't know if they can, Liliana or Maria del Pilar can explain that more. But basically, what they do is the fun part. So I have a specific project that's not necessarily attached to a business solution, and then I can do a lot of research. Like for instance, right now with the pandemic, I mean, what are the real needs right now of people and the medical sector, etc. So they can really help on determining what's the best solution for each and every situation that we're facing right now.
I'll just say I've seen questions begin to appear. Just for the sake of streamlining, I'm gonna wait for the questions until the end, so don't think I'm ignoring you people. I'm just putting you in the line for later. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you. And so very quickly, following up on that, would it be fair to say that a lot of the science part of data science is mainly done in academia then? Would it be fair to say that, or do you think it would be unfair to qualify it like that?
Not really. I mean, I was reading the other day, for instance, in the gaming industry,
Mm-hmm.
that there are a bunch of online games, I'm sorry, that pretty much rely on the fact that they have AI engines running 24/7, and they are pretty much creating all that data which is being processed, which is moved to for instance, S3 buckets in AWS, so which is really scalable. And then they're reprocessing that information to give the best user experience. So the goal for all of those companies is trying to keep people engaged most of the time. So it's like also on the industry, like on the retail industry, is the best way you can sell a product is know exactly when is the best time to place that product and the best place to put it. So if you are like a Walmart, you are selling, I don't know, Pop-Tarts, for instance, what is the best time to sell those, and what specific areas in the country those products have better demand. So in order to do that, you need to go into the sales history and to process all that data and kind of determine when is the best time to do that. And it's a constant cycle that you can keep harvesting that data, processing the data, and giving better solutions to the people on the marketing or procurement on other areas on your company.
Thank you. The next question is from Maria del Pilar. Are we preparing, and by we I mean the world, eventually there's a specific question about Mexico, so this one is more like in general. Are we preparing the next generation of data scientists well?
Well, it depends of the contents of the degree programs, for example, no? Because the typical topics are mathematics, statistics, machine learning, and data purposes. However, there are several topics that are frequently overlooked and extremely important and necessary in the training of data science. For instance, some topics related to confidentiality in the information they handle, such as ethics, information security, or topics involving business analytics, business modeling, or knowledge of tuning and performance for large amounts of information, such as high performance computing, algorithms that optimize data reading and data processing. In the case of data management, it should cover any type of data. And also project management, DevOps are also important in the sense of improving performance and create higher quality products in less time. And one of the most important, for example, storytelling, which is a structured approach for communicating data insights, and it involves a combination of three key elements like data, visuals, and narrative. If the program contains these disciplines, all these disciplines, yes, we are training a good data scientist. However, nowadays, the data scientists come from different disciplines, actuarial, which is more focused on statistics. And if you ask him, data science is focused only on statistics because it's just his focus. So we need to extend all these disciplines, and in a career that take all this as its own, because data science is not only multidisciplinary, it's cross-disciplinary. Yes. So that's the way I think it would be to have a better next generation of data scientists.
So just from your answer, I could think of just running through my head 12 separate degrees that you could pursue. And that's I think it's huge. People should understand that they can approach this in many different ways, right? There's not a one size fits all in terms of preparing data scientists. So the next question will go a little bit more to Mexico specifically. It's for Liliana. Would you say that Mexico is a good place to practice data science in general? And in particular, if you can think of any successful examples, recent examples that have been carried out in Mexico.
Yeah, I think that in the last 5 years, Mexico, it is a really good place to do data science. Before that, it will be very complicated to actually try to implement something that it is not called indeed data science, but some more advanced algorithms or something like that. People were like were very like scared about new things or trying new things with the same problems that they have. But nowadays, I think from the last 5 years, we actually are in a really good place. So there are a lot of more mind. I think that governments in particular, governments, companies, and organizations are more open to try to implement a different way of or a different solution in the way that they usually try to solve things. And that is because now we have a lot more infrastructure, if we could say it like that, like more data scientists, more people with talent, more people that is prepared to actually do data science in the correct way, in which it is not also statistic, as Maria Pilar was saying. It is not also, it's not just only statistic, it is not just machine learning, it is not just doing software engineer, it is a multidisciplinary thing. So now I think that we have been developing a lot of solutions that have an impact in a national way. So for example, in the response of the earthquake in 2017, there were people that were actually trying to solve how can we get into the people that most require different stuff. And maybe it was not doing predictive things in there, but how should we use the technology and our knowledge and our talent to actually solve a problem that people require? So that's one part, and that actually changed some people in trying to say like, okay, so this thing works and actually impacts people. So another thing that Maria Pilar was saying is we need to actually put attention in the ethics, and that's something very important because everything that we do and everything that we model and everything that we put on the reality, it's going to affect someone in a good way or in a bad way, hopefully in a good way, but it's going to affect someone. So nowadays, I think Mexico is thinking about that. A lot of companies are available, want to try that, which is something different. But that could be also dangerous because companies think about data science. Now they are thinking about, oh yeah, we do artificial intelligence. We are not, but now that's the new common word in there. So yeah, it could be dangerous because maybe they do not require a solution that has something complicated as a data science, but just business intelligence. And that is okay. If we are moving towards that, then we are doing the things right. And I think that Mexico is doing that things. And also government, which is really interesting, it's also open to do things as a project in data science. Yeah, there are a lot of examples in there that are trying to achieve things solved in a different way, not just in a statistic, but what will happen if we try to put it in a data science project. For example, Arturo was saying that on the pandemic. Now we are trying to model things in which we can prioritize which people are going to get the vaccines first, which are going to be the ones that require it the most. And that will be because there's not enough vaccines in the world. So how are we going to deal with that? So yeah, I think that for me, I think that the examples that I've been working on in the last 5 years, I can certainly think that Mexico has changed into a good way into trying to do data science in a more professional way.
Excellent, thank you very much. That's great to hear. So in a pseudo-related question for Arturo, is Mexico helping feed the large need for data scientists that the US has these days? Do you have a feel for that?
Unfortunately, I don't see that many people in Mexico working in the US in the field. And I think that's a must, okay? I think we have the capacity, as Pilar mentioned, and also Lilian, I'm sorry, that Mexico is in a good spot right now to produce one of the best hubs for data scientists in the world. And it would be really stupid if we miss that opportunity. So I think that I mean, right now, as we know, it's there are almost no frontiers, of course, but everyone can work from home. Anyone can work from whatever part in the world, and still being productive and work on different and fun projects. So I think that definitely Mexico is in a good position to create good data scientists. And as you know, here in the US, there is really the need for more data scientists, and the market is wide open for them. Unfortunately, there is more demand than offer right now, and Mexico could be the best place since we are not dealing with the with the problem like other countries like India, that the schedule is completely different than the US. Mexico is in a perfect position to provide with that talent. As far as the academia, I don't know, probably Liliana or Maria del Pilar can tell us better that what programs are actually running there that prepare our new generation of data scientists.
You specifically stole my next question. That's great. No, it was your idea to begin with. So thank you for bringing that up. Since Liliana and Maria del Pilar both are in academic programs, but one of them is in a private institution and the other one is in a public institution, I think I want to ask both of you, you can decide, if you can highlight, essentially, just give us some light on some of the programs that are happening in Mexico now that are worth looking at. Maria del Pilar, can you go first?
Yes, thanks. Well, at the UNAM, we have the bachelor's degree in data science. And as the UNAM is a huge university, we have incorporated researchers and professors for a number of disciplines. We have actual statistics, we have biology, we have in the US of medicine, of social science, mathematics, obviously. So the program that we have in that degree is composed by a number of disciplines, and the professors and researchers, all of them in several institutes of research, are collaborating in order to get this degree ahead. Nowadays we have the second generation starting. We don't have now the graduates because they are in the 8th semester.
Mm-hmm.
So next, they will be graduated by the end of the following year, I think.
Okay. Do you know of any other programs in public universities in Mexico? Because yours is super new, so I'm wondering if there are more, or you are pioneers.
I don't think so.
Okay. So you're probably pioneers in this. What about you, Liliana?
Yeah, indeed, UNAM was the pioneer on the bachelor degree. So also on the private universities, there are a lot of these bachelor degree. Not all of them are like in the correct way structure. It is more like, we need to have a bachelor degree in data science. I don't know what's that, but let's put it in there. So there are a couple of universities, I just can't think of 3 right now, that are doing the things, I think, in the correct way. The private ones, so it's also one of them, but not a private one. But it is ITAM. It also have a bachelor degree in data science. Also, they're just starting with the first generations in there. TESUM is also having a bachelor degree in, it is not called data science, but it is a combination of applied mathematics with computer science or something like that. And for graduate programs, ITAM also have the master degree on data science. And NAWAC also have another program in there, but there are more like focus on the tools than on the actually data science. Well, that's my understanding about that program. So yeah, I think that we are short indeed on that part. We need to have more offers in there, but it is very good that now UNAM has the bachelor degree and other private universities has them because we're required to have data scientists. So yeah.
Do either one of you know if the I know CDE has some classes that are specific for maybe more on the coding part, but also on the analysis. But I don't know if they are classes offered to their other degrees or if they are beginning or they're part of an actual degree.
I think it is part of a particular degree. And also, by the way, ITESM is having in their government school also applying data science in all of the degrees that they have. So they have PhDs in something that is a public policy and master degrees and stuff like that. But all of them are actually having data science for public policy, which is great indeed.
Thank you. And just to wrap up, this is the last organized question. Then we're going to move to the general question from the audience. So this one is for Ricardo. How does a Mexican data scientist need to prepare to be hired in the US? Since we are an organization that Mexico's in the US, I'm always trying to talk about bridges. So if these wonderful ladies are telling us how Mexican data science can be formed in Mexico, what do they need to bring to the US if they want to be working here?
Right. Well, I guess the academia already responded with all the amazing programs that we're putting together in Mexico universities to make sure that people are well trained for being able to do the job. I can tell you, like, from my personal story, I came to the US 20 years ago. I finished college, and then this US company came to my school. They interviewed 100 people and they hired 6. And basically that's how my story started, right? But throughout the years, and especially the last 10 years, what I do is I work with consulting organizations that are bringing talent from abroad and injecting these people in projects in different companies, right? A lot of the exposure that I have is companies that are bringing talent from India, and I have always like hit my head on the wall because this was a huge missed opportunity from Mexico, right? India basically ate our cake because we are the country next to US. We have amazing engineers, and we allow this company on the other side of the world provide to the economy number one engineers to come in and provide talent, right? This would have been an amazing opportunity for us. So, okay, it happened, but we're working on it. I have seen more and more. So I work with consulting companies, and I have a lot of partners in Mexico. I work in nearshore model, which is phenomenal for companies that are trying to provide services in American companies, right? But as Arturo was mentioning, we don't have to deal with time zone problems. If we're able to master the language, this is going to be a great barrier breaking for us, right? Because we need to be able to speak the language very, very well, right? To have that. On top of that, we have an agreement that allows Mexicans to come to do projects. We have a TN visa that allows Mexicans to do on projects in a temporary basis. So I personally hired a couple of engineers. They came in, did 4 months project, and they flew back to Mexico. So we can do that, right? A lot. So and plus the US has a tremendous appetite for engineers. I have positions opened for years that we can't fill because you're competing with many other organizations that are trying to hire all the talent, and data science is a niche, right? Within a niche. And so I would say if you want to come to the US, well, obviously you need to master the language first of all, but then you need to get into close proximity with the technology. Of course, there's a lot of certifications that you can go and get, right? Certifications are something that are internationally recognized, that companies in the US are going to be able to say, I mean, in my very particular example is like go and get a certification on a business intelligence tool, or get a certification on a tool, right? If you master a tool, then you are you're a specialist. But then I would say, as Maria del Pilar was saying, she has people with all different backgrounds. And one of the things that I've seen is like putting the power of data to the people that know the subject area. So if you're a doctor and you have an intersection of data scientist with medical background, you become a very unique asset that nobody else can find. So as a Mexican, if you want to come to the US, trust me, it's the easiest thing that you can do. If you find the right path, talking to consulting companies that are doing projects in the US, but also master the tools, and you bring your own expertise to the table. And I think this is absolutely doable, right? Like now we have development centers like Guadalajara, like Mexico City, like that are becoming these huge development centers from the country, and the bridge is there already. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
Thank you so
yeah.
much. It's super useful. This is super useful, many of the things that you mentioned. I want to add that probably Monterrey and it's in Baja California, and I don't know if the epicenter is more in Tijuana or in
I heard Merida. There's a huge development center in Merida that I just heard about a couple of days ago. It's like, wow, this is incredible.
So there are places that are popping up, and places like Querétaro may be coming also.
Yeah.
Just a matter of paying attention. And I want to just add that some of you mentioned either specific academic programs that say data science, or an engineer that can be certified in specific tools, but there's also the actual scientists, because I'm one of those. and that's another path to do it. Some of us did deep research, the type that doesn't care about, officially about customers or anything like that. But so many of the tools that we have, many of the ones that Liliana was mentioning, for example, in her, I just kept thinking, like, we are trained on doing this naturally, just because of the so physicists, chemists, biostatisticians, the old computer scientists, there's all the, even psychologists and sociologists, if they have enough of the technical expertise. So there's many different ways in which one can do that, but the things that you mentioned, Ricardo, are super useful to know, even for this other path people. So thank you, that's very useful. I have a couple questions from the audience, and I invite now the rest of the audience, if you have more questions, this is the time to drop them in the Q&A, if you want to do that. So I'm gonna start with the first one that showed up, and whoever wants to take it can take it, from Job, I think that's getting the name correctly. Can you talk about how security policies and protocols like GDPR play into your work with data?
I can take a look at that.
Okay.
So, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Ricardo, but I understand GDPR pretty much belongs to the European Union.
Correct.
And in our area, since the GDPR regulation started, like was in the 2015, 2016, something like that. I mean, there are huge fines if companies don't comply with it, and it's pretty much it's all about protecting private data, private information. So in our company, we always take care of that. So we always take care of protecting the privacy, or PII, which is private identifiable information, so that pretty much can identify someone which is using any platform. It could be the address, the email, the IP or the device, etc. So we always take care of encrypting all that information and making sure that no one but the user in particular has access to that. I don't know if you can get more into that, Ricardo. Probably, Marx.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. GDPR, it depends who you speak to, right? If you want to speak about GDPR as a person, right, it's great because it protects your privacy as a physical person, and you have a lot of information that you have the right to be deleted and removed from company organizations. You have the right to opt in or opt out from being contacted and using your information for analysis, right? Now, from a business perspective, GDPR is a nightmare because it puts a lot of breaks into how we want to analyze the data and how we want to work with data. So my company is German. So imagine that we are like in the most GDPR environment that you can think of, and we are doing business in the US. So there's a lot of things that we cannot do from a go-to-market perspective because we're being blocked by GDPR. And then on top of that, we have the California Protection Act that is going to kick in pretty soon, which is the equivalent, right, of the GDPR, but for the US. And so, yeah, and as an end user, as a person, I think it's great. You need to have the right to opt out, but I think it hurts business. So we need to walk that fine line between what's and what's not helpful for us. So, Maria del Pilar, I think you have some comments there, or Liliana, what do you guys think?
Would you like to go first, Maria, or yeah?
As you wish. Go ahead, Liliana.
Okay, I was just thinking about how we deal with the GDPR. Is more of in the acquisition part for us. It is more of anonymizing the data, so that we are not troubling too much into defining, like, if it is anonymized data, it is okay for us because later we're going to aggregate, so it is okay. But one important thing for the GDPR on the modeling part is that in some parts, if you are using a model to predict if someone is going to have a help from the government or a credit or something like that, you need to explain why, if the model is saying that it's going to be rejected, why is that? So if you're going to use a model, then you need to interpret that, or you have to have an interpretability model to explain why the model is saying that you are rejecting this customer to this credit. And that is important because if you have GDPR in one project and that particular part of the modeling, you're required to explain to the user why you have been rejected or why you have been accepted, then you need to add a model that it will require to interpret the model that you have developed. So that will be important for us, but it's just trying to limit on what will be the solutions that you could have. So if you have a supervised solution, then you could always put an interpretability model in there. That's the only two things that I would like to add.
Yes, the same. The data may be anonymized, and also during the interpretation, you can hide some confidential information. So it's a way that we are working with that.
I'll just quickly say that I intend to visit Germany once a year in non-pandemic times. And there's a lot of psychology to do there because there's a double feeling. It's very contradictory. On one hand, you know that you're a lot safer as a user of any product while you're there, in the online products, definitely. On the other hand, you cannot access so many things because of these laws that you end up being so angry that you realize, like, do I really want to be that protected because I want access to my YouTube videos or whatever have you. So I think that's a very fine thread, thing to thread, that it's a difficult problem. Mm-hmm. So we have one more question from the chat. This essentially, I will say that I hope this question will be answered in the next webinar, which is exactly on the issue of data science in business specifically. I'm going to read it anyway, and if one of you want to take a short answer, that would be great. How can small and medium businesses that do not have strong infrastructure benefit from data science?
I can take a quick shot at that. So there's if you can do a Google search on the data science hierarchy of needs. And so if we I see Liliana, she's like, yeah, I know that. If we equate, right, the Maslow pyramid, if you're familiar with the Maslow pyramid what are the human needs, right? Well, organizations have the same type of needs. And imagine driving a car without a dashboard. Essentially, you can't see how fast you are, how much gas you have, how many revolutions, is something going on, right? So when it comes down to businesses, I would relate that to that pyramid that is very good, the data science hierarchy of needs, because you need to start somewhere. We tend to think of data science as AI, machine learning algorithms, and artificial intelligence. But it takes you so long to get to that point. You need to start at the bottom. And if you're a small and medium organization, well, you need to start by understanding what does it mean to be a data-driven organization. How am I going to, what are the KPIs I want to manage, right? What are the reports that I need to follow? So you need to start with that first before you evolve into the more advanced algorithms. I think business intelligence is all about what has happened or what is happening in my business. Artificial intelligence and machine learning helps you a lot with what just happened and what is going to happen in the future, right? So I don't know if you guys want to take another aspect or another look at what I said.
No, completely agree with you, Ricardo. First, start with the first. Try to do that first and then move on. Yeah.
Like I said, if you tune back in January, you should get many more nuanced and sophisticated answers to all of that.
Yeah. No.
So if anybody has some closing remarks, I think we're out of questions by now. So if anybody wants to do a closing remark, you are welcome to do so now.
No, don't be afraid. Data science, it's not rocket science, right?
Yeah.
You got to start somewhere, and I think, at least from what I've seen in my last 20 years working in this industry, like organizations flourish when they make decision and data-driven decisions in their business.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a very tangible difference in organizations when they are driven based on data and when they are not. So try to strive to get there. That would be my recommendation.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes that certainly makes a difference on a business being successful or not. Is the ability to predict a little bit into the future, or at least have an educated guess what's going to happen, and position themselves into the really competitive market as it is right now.
Well, in my case, a lot of people came to me to ask, how can I start on data science? And I think that the first approaches are a strong mathematical formation, and then go to data management and go on. However, there are some companies that want a project on data science or big data because the terms are all around the world and they want to have a system. But the main problem here is that they need to check what are the infrastructure, the resources, human and computer resources in order to know what they can do with that, because they want to have a data science project and they don't have people or resources for even to try a data warehouse for descriptive analysis, and they want to predict something, but they don't know what is going on right now. So I think as some of you have already mentioned, you need to take baby steps in order to go organized and evolve to data science projects. Not right now because it's mentioned everywhere.
I have an internal question of sort, and it's pretty much for the our academia people. And how often are you approached by businesses to solve real life situations? Are there instances of because that goes back to the question on, let's say I own a small business and obviously I don't have the kind of money to invest into internal data science department, and obviously I need to rely on different resources. So my first thought would be, okay, who can provide that? And I'm thinking like academia. Is that kind of connection going on right now?
At least at ITAM, it is. We have actually formally made a center of data science to actually link industry with academia, so that people that are studying the master degree in data science could actually practice and do stuff in the real life with mentors that have done it in the real life. And we've been approached by governments, by ONGs, by business, small and big ones. It is like really interesting what's happening right now. So I think that at least at ITAM, it is happening in the last couple of years. It has been in that way.
Yeah, same as you know, we have several programs that are established to work with companies, private companies and government. For example, in the case of the COVID pandemic, we have a collaboration with the health sector, and we made the study of the lungs radiographies in order to predict COVID. And we are also collaborating with the health sector in order to provide a system that can redistribute the medical things.
Supplies?
In order to make more efficient the health attention to people. So there are a lot of programs in the UNAM where we can work on with private companies and government as well. So, and they are also as professional practices of thesis or master degree thesis or social services. There's a way.
Interesting, yeah. And I'm glad that bridge is going on right now.
Yes, yes.
Because obviously that helps a lot of small and medium-sized companies to move forward.
Okay, so I guess this is time to wrap up. I want to wrap up with a metaphor, if you will, that artificial intelligence, data science, machine learning, all these things are occasionally the devil, but they're occasionally angels too. They also help solve very good problems, even if they know too much about people sometimes. But for the most part, those are the extremes. In reality lies in between. There's a lot of gray area if things are used well. That's why some things like ethics are very important in this field. So don't be scared of it. I agree with Ricardo. Don't be scared of it, even as a user. Even if you're not putting hands on there, this is not something to take as an enemy. On the contrary, you learn to make it your friend. So I want to thank the fabulous set of panelists that we had today. I think you guys struck a fantastic balance between the different aspects of this data science subject. So we hope to see you again in future webinars, of course. Thank you so much for sharing your time today. Please be aware of we won't have a webinar in December. We're taking time off, but we're back in January, so keep an eye on the following webinars from TechMex. In particular, there's an upcoming data science one. And I want to thank again Data Guru for providing a lot of the logistical help here today, and the Consulado General de Mexico in Austin for helping spread the word. So see you next time. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Sí. Exacto. No. Bueno, de hecho, nosotros igual, si quieres ahorita te respondo, nosotros subimos la información que nos mandaste cuando mandaste tu propuesta, eh, subimos esta información. Ajá, exacto, eso subimos. Si tú quieres que cambiemos la foto o algo de tu bio, compártenoslo, pero sí, en general la difusión del evento la hacemos por redes sociales, entonces si tienes cuenta de Twitter, compartirla con nosotros